That's my favorite noise.
It's a good way to start. I was going to say Thursday, but any day, really.
Well, Thursday's almost over, so
That's true.
it's a good way to, like, well, it's just a good way.
It's just a good way to do anything.
Do whatever. So, hey, welcome. It's Thursday night at 6 o'clock. We are here live in the Well Seasoned Kitchen. I'm Angie, and I'm really excited tonight to introduce you guys to Tessa. Tessa is our new executive chef here at Well Seasoned. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Some of you might have met Tessa when she was transitioning over from Dennis. And so Tessa participated in our last halibut class. And that was the last class we did in the summertime.
Which blows my mind that we're almost at the end of October.
I know. Where does the time go? I mean, honestly, that was August, right?
It was August.
No, September. It was September.
No, it was August.
Was it really?
It was August.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. And we're like 8 weeks from Christmas.
Oh my God. No, don't say that out loud. It's 9 weeks. 9 weeks from Christmas. Anyhow, cheers. Welcome.
Cheers.
Thanks for being here tonight. Oh my God. Thanks to you guys for joining us tonight. I'm excited to be back with our Facebook Live classes. I wanted to make sure, before we jumped back into the Thursday night classes, that Tessa really felt comfortable in the kitchen and, you know, had her bearings here. So it's been like a really interesting, well, 8 weeks.
Well, it's been an interesting 8 weeks. Well, no, I think it's been like 10 weeks.
Has it really?
Yeah, it's getting there.
Time flies.
It's insane.
So Tessa's creating our weekly meals and all of the other great products that's going into our freezer and into our fridges and our gourmet to go. So anyhow, I'm really excited to have Tessa in the kitchen, and I think you guys are really going to learn to like Tessa personally and enjoy the food that she's presenting to our customers here at Well Seasoned. On Thursday nights, we generally spend a couple minutes and have a glass of wine before we start cooking.
Yeah.
Do you know these guys? Do you know?
I don't. Talk to me about them.
So this is from Serendipity Winery. They are on the Naramata Bench. Judy is the owner and the viticulturalist of the winery, and her daughter is the winemaker. And so they're super talented, women-owned, women-run winery, and they make incredible wine. So this is their bubbly. I'm a sucker for bubbly. I'm a bigger sucker for BC bubbly, but I just love a really delicious, well-made glass of bubble, and this is definitely one of them. So Katie is Judy's daughter, Katie, and she's the winemaker there. And this bubbly is so delicious.
It's so good. It's nice and dry.
This is, I don't know if it says the vintage, so it's a 214. It's called Sparkling Truth. So anyhow, you can find it maybe at the winery. I don't know the status of this. This is a 214, so this has maybe even been in my cellar for a little bit because I grabbed it this morning on my way out the door. So I'm not sure what's available. I'll look it up in a minute, but Jenna can post a link to Serendipity Winery in the comments so you guys can check them out. Their wine is phenomenal. So tonight, we are doing soups.
Soups. It is soup season. Look outside. It is soup season. It's pitch black and it's 6 o'clock, which means it's soup time.
And soup is like classic comfort food, but it's also one of those things that I think a lot of people think you can't make quickly.
Yeah.
And you can.
Yeah,
You can make a really great soup with a couple of like cheater type things, like an instant base mix and whatever else, pre-cooking a couple of your ingredients, but you can have a really delicious, soul-satisfying soup on the table in definitely under half an hour.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? I love making soups too because it's the time of year where you get to use all the leftovers up. We've got all the big holidays coming around, and you can turn any leftover, I'm convinced, into soup.
I think so too.
Any leftover.
Yeah. And it's a great way to clean out the fridge. Like at the end of the week, I have a friend, his name is Mark, and he's a good customer. He shares his recipe ideas on our Facebook page all the time. He does a fridge cleaner, I think he calls it Fridge Cleaner Sunday or Fridge Cleaner Saturday, and he literally just empties out his fridge and he makes pasta sauce or he makes a soup, and it's always like a really interesting combination. Interesting, Mark, if you're watching. Anyhow, it's a great way to utilize just some odds and ends and maybe some produce that's not not suitable for like a salad, shall we say.
Which hasn't, or has passed its best days.
Yeah, but
know.
it's still going to taste good if you cook it. You just maybe don't want to, you know, use it as a garnish or something.
Exactly.
So tonight we're doing 3 soups. What have you got?
We are doing parsnip apple soup. We are doing a Thai red curry coconut lentil soup, and we're doing a quick beef and barley.
Cool. So the parsnip and apple soup is a soup that Tessa made for our Thanksgiving dinners here at Well Seasoned, our Gourmet to Go dinners, and our customers loved it. And so it's made a couple of appearances in our freezer here at the store, but it never lasts very long. So this is a really popular recipe that she's going to share with you tonight. Jenna will post the recipes in the comments. And then the red lentil soup is made with the curry sauce that we carry from Ban Chak Di.
Yep. Yeah, which takes like 2 or 3 steps away. So it makes it even faster to make your dinner. You just have to come visit us and grab all these products, and there you go.
Yeah, so you could make the Thai curry sauce with the coconut milk, with the curry paste. It's just more steps involved. So this class is sort of about quick and easy kind of soups that you can put together on a Thursday night when it's really crappy outside and you're maybe not feeling super motivated to cook. Keep a really great baguette in your freezer, heat the baguette up in the oven, and open a bottle of wine, and yeah,
You're set.
Yeah, life is good. And then the beef barley. I see some red wine there, Chef.
I see some red wine too, just a little bit. Just a little bit of red wine.
Okay.
It's very important.
So red wine, beef base, and some beef scraps from your Sunday
We've got
supper.
some beef scraps. There's a little bit of Worcestershire sauce in there too that I've got mixed in with the red wine. Some
Cool.
we cooked the barley off for that. I got some dried spices.
Are you a barley lover?
I have a love-hate relationship with barley. You know, I used to love barley in salads and in soups, and then someone tried to make me a barley risotto,
Yeah.
and it just turned into this hockey puck, like congealed mass, and then I was kind of turned off by it. But in a soup, I'm okay with it, because barley is something that doesn't melt. Have you ever had a grain that's been cooking for so long it just kind of disintegrates, doesn't have its bite anymore?
Yeah.
Barley tends to still hold up in soup. So
That's what the lentils are going to do.
The lentils are going to completely turn to mush.
Right.
Yeah, they're going to break right down. So the barley will still have a little bit of bite.
So Tess is from Ottawa. Well, Quebec, Ottawa.
All
Or
over
where
Ontario.
were you born?
I was born in Sudbury in
Okay.
northern Ontario, and then I kind of moved around.
So she came to her senses and moved to the coast a few years ago, but she's from the East Coast. But here, I grew up in the prairies, and we ate barley for breakfast. We would have hot barley cereal. So there was always cooked barley in our fridge at home, and so we would treat it just like somebody would treat oatmeal. So
Okay.
hot milk or cream or whatever, brown sugar.
Yeah.
And oh my God, as a kid, it was like the worst thing. All the kids, my friends were eating like Pop-Tarts and
You're getting
Egos.
this like
and I get
slap
like
of porridge of barley porridge.
barley porridge. So, but I took a few years off, and now I can eat barley again, and I actually love it if it's done properly.
If it's done properly.
I haven't had a barley risotto, but I have had some really good farro risottos.
I've had a good farro risotto as well. I
Yeah.
think it's all the starch that leaked out of the barley, and then it just I don't know. It was one of those things where you could flip the pan over,
Yeah.
and then it just came out as one big mass, and you were
Nice.
like, great, I can't wait.
Like polenta,
Like
just slice it
polenta.
into
Yeah, exactly.
pieces. All right, so I'm gonna let Chef get cooking here. If you have questions while Tessa's creating these recipes tonight, feel free to type them into the comment bar. I'll answer them. Jenna's here as well. Sounds like Michelle's just leaving, so you might get a glimpse of Michelle on her way out the door. But yeah, so feel free to ask some questions, and I'll pass them on to Chef. But yeah, do you want a little bit of a top-up before I leave?
Yeah, no, before you go.
'Cause,
Have
you
you
know-
noticed that I've been going for it?
You can't make soup without some,
You can't.
without
It's
a
also,
beverage.
I mean, it's sparkling truth, which in my
It
mind
is.
means the more sparkling I drink, the more truth you're going to get from me,
Ooh.
which could be bad.
I have
Or
another
good.
bottle in the fridge, so we'll see how this ends.
Well, happy Thursday. I may not be here next week. We'll see. So, as Angie said, we're working on 3 soups. I've got my parsnip apple, I've got my Thai red curry lentil, and then I've got my beef and barley here. I'm going to be kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit, just because of the cook time on
Michelle?
some of these. So 3 very different soups, 3 very different flavor profiles, and 3 different ways of preparing. So my parsnip apple soup is one that is going to be pureed. Now, I did a nice job a nice job cutting all of this. But the beauty of doing pureed soups is that you don't actually have to pay too much attention to your knife skills. You can just chop it and throw it in the pot and then blend it later. But we're gonna do one pureed soup. I've got one soup with diced veg that's gonna kind of break down a little bit, and then it's gonna be kind of a creamier soup base, and then the beef and barley is gonna be more of your brothy based soup. So I'm gonna start with my parsnip apple soup here. And when I wrote this menu, and I'm not gonna forget this, I wrote this menu and I wrote parsnip apple soup, and like 5 people minimum were like, "You're putting apples with your parsnips?" And I was like, "Yeah. You don't put your parsnips with your apples?" So it was a little maybe jarring to some, but it is a very simple soup. There's not much going on here. I've got minced garlic that's gonna go in. I've got some celery. I've got some onion, parsnip, apple, and then cream and water, and that's it. And then you just have to cook it down until your parsnips get nice and soft, and you puree it. Now, I love parsnips in a pureed soup because it gets it nice and creamy, kind of like a potato would. Celery root does that same awesome thing. So I'm a very big fan of throwing parsnips into any pureed soup base. Now, after the Thanksgiving meal, if you guys remember, if anyone ordered any, we had a bunch of roasted parsnips that we had sent out, honey roasted parsnips. And so what I did with my leftover honey roasted parsnips, I threw them in my soup base, and that's how I made that quick batch. So what I'm gonna do here, I just turned my pot on. I'm gonna drizzle some olive oil, bottom of my pot, and nothing fancy here. All the kids go in the pool. We cook it down. So I'm gonna start by putting my onions, my celery, and my garlic in. Now when it comes to your apples and pureeing them in a soup, I tend to be a little bit finicky. I really like using Granny Smith because Granny Smith has a little bit of that sour taste to it. It kind of balances everything out. It's not a terribly sweet apple. If I'm gonna be pureeing too, my other option would be Macintosh. I find that Macintosh apples tend to break down nicely.
Would you take the skin? You have to skin them though.
Yeah, you have to take the skin off.
Yeah.
If you leave the skin on and then you try pureeing it, it gets all weird and
I find especially Macintosh skin is really
tough.
It is tough.
It's really tough. It's hard to break down.
And if for some reason you didn't have apples, you could substitute pears, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, pears would be great in this
Pears
soup.
would be great in this soup. Bosch pears, Bartlett pears, Asian pears, anything like that would be awesome.
Asian pears in soup?
Yeah.
Really, I find them so watery and not really flavorful. I would never have added them to soup, but that's interesting.
Asian pears are one of the only pears I actually like because I find that all other pears are too soft, and Asian pears are the closest to an apple.
I love eating them, but they don't have a strong flavor, so I would never have added them to
them in a soup.
But that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Thanks, tips.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So I'm just cooking down my celery, my onions, and my garlic. And anytime I'm layering flavors, anytime I'm making a sauce or a soup like this, a lot of your recipes say, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then add in your next ingredient. But I always say to use your nose when you're cooking. As soon as you can smell what's cooking in your pot without having to stick your face over it. Like if you're standing nice and tall and you're like, I can really start to smell that garlic, it's starting to break down, the oils are coming out, it's getting nice and fragrant, which means you can add in your next ingredient. So in this case, my onions are softening here. It smells like garlic. Do you smell like garlic?
Dude, I smell like onions, garlic. I smell like I've been washing dishes at the Greek restaurant all week.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for that.
I did that just for you. I was waiting for today.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and throw my parsnips in now. Now my parsnips are peeled and chopped. However, I have made this soup without peeling my parsnips. I just washed them really well, similar to carrots, and it still turned out nicely. However, it changes the color a little bit because it's got the rind on the outside is dark. So by peeling it, you get to keep that nice, crisp, white color to your soup. And I'm gonna go ahead and add in my apples that are sliced and ready to go. And the great thing about pureed soups is that you can pretty much add anything you want in there. If you have anything left over, like if I had any fennel in the fridge, which if you've ordered any of our meals, you've noticed that I love fennel. Fennel could go in here. You could put celery in here. Any type of white vegetable that's not gonna change the color, you can throw in. So I'm giving that a quick toss. And really, once all of the parsnips and apples have kind of hit the bottom of the pan and they're not stone cold anymore, I'm gonna grab, so this is my cream and my water. You can use vegetable stock as well. You could use chicken stock if you wanted to. I tend to just opt for keeping it vegetarian if I can. And I'm gonna pour all of my liquid into the pot. The goal is to make sure that everything is submerged.
So this could be vegan if you used olive oil, or you did use olive oil, but if you used like a dairy alternative,
Yep.
maybe some almond milk or...
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you don't even really need it because parsnips are so creamy. You could probably opt out of using cream altogether and just use a really nice flavorful vegetable stock, and it'll get the job done as well. I'm like walking with these dirty dishes because I don't know where to put them. Can I put them here?
Yeah, you can put them right at the sink, Chef.
Can I put them where I should put them while I'm working?
Yeah, put
Okay.
them at the sink, and then I'll continue doing your dishes later.
Listen, I try.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I try, but it's hard sometimes. So I've got my dairy and my water in my soup. I'm gonna crank the heat up a little bit. I just want this to come to a nice simmer. And then I want to control that heat. So as soon as this starts boiling, I'll start turning it down gradually until I get that kind of happy simmer. And then we're just going to ignore that. We're going to let it do its thing for about 20 minutes. And we'll come back to it and we will puree the living daylights out of it, which is why it really doesn't matter if you didn't do a good job with your knife skills. You're going to puree it, so it's fine.
So if you were cooking with leftover vegetables here, Chef, like if you had cooked parsnips or whatever, you can still, do you still incorporate everything at the same time if you're using raw apple and cooked parsnips, like if you're using leftovers? So just drop it all in. You can't,
I would.
You can't overdo it.
You cannot overdo it. You really can't. It's just you're looking, if you're using roasted parsnips, then at that point, when you're simmering it, you would just do it for a less amount of time. The simmering is just to cook through the vegetables. But yeah, I would add it all in at the same time and just kind of cook it through. Okay. So I'm going to kind of keep an eye on this guy. I'm going to play with the heat a little bit. And while that is doing its thing, we're going to come into the lentil curry soup. Just getting it all together. So I've got some split red lentils here. As these cook down, they are quite literally going to turn almost into a paste. It's going to give some really nice, not consistency, what's the word? Is it consistency? Is that the word?
Yeah, it's going to add like, they turn super creamy in this soup.
Yeah, creamy, velvety. So it's going to give it some really nice body. And fun fact, if you did not know, now you do, Canada, Saskatchewan in particular, produces 95% of the world's lentils and 65% of the world's barley. So when I was driving across the country a few years ago, you know, we leave Ontario, and it literally took us like, I don't know, like it's like 2 days to cross Ontario. And it was a nice drive, and I've never been to Saskatchewan. I was like, oh, I'm sure it's great. I'm sure there's stuff to look at. They weren't wrong. You can literally go as fast as you want because you can see the cops, you know, 100 kilometers away. But there's nothing there but fields and cows to count.
And the occasional gopher that darts out into the road.
And that might get you, might be your downfall. And, you know, not much to look at. However, lots of wonderful ingredients that come out of there. Lentils, I absolutely love eating lentils. I was a pescatarian for a very long time, and lentils are a complete protein. So they have all of your 9 essential amino acids in there. So it's nice and healthy for you.
And they're so easy to have on hand in the pantry.
Yeah.
Like they last forever, well, virtually forever. So you can have a nice assortment of lentils in your pantry that don't take up a ton of space, and they're so versatile.
I also like putting red lentils in hummus. I'll make a hummus that's half red lentils and half chickpeas. And again, it makes it just nice and creamy. It doesn't have a lot of flavor. Lentils pick up the flavor that you want them to.
So
which is
here's a
nice.
fun fact, Chef, since you're passing out all these facts tonight. If you make a soup, like let's say you make a potato bacon soup or beef barley soup and it's too salty,
Yeah.
if you throw a handful of red lentils into the pot, the red lentils completely disintegrate and take away the saltiness of the soup.
So we should have more lentils here for me then, just in case.
Well, I think lentils are like one of those things, they're like this equalizer because like you said, they don't have a strong flavor. They're a really great thickener that's gluten-free, so you can add them to lots of sauces that aren't super fine sauces, obviously, but they'll thicken the sauce or the stock without adding gluten or a ton of flavor.
That's awesome. I
It
did
is,
not know
yeah,
that.
it is.
Thank you
They're
for telling
super
me that.
useful.
See, just more good ways to use lentils. I like using the split red ones because they cook a lot faster. You of course have your green lentils and your black Dupree lentils, but the split reds are great for making soups and for binding because they do break down so quickly. So in this soup here, a lot of the usual suspects. We got onions, we've got carrots, I've got garlic, our lentils, and we are very spoiled here at Well Seasoned. We have that awesome penne curry from Banchok D. And when I was writing out this recipe, it typically is you toast off your curry paste and you add in your coconut milk, but it kind of like a light went off in my head. I was like, we have this amazing curry sauce in the fridge. Why don't I just, or in the freezer, sorry. Why don't I just use that? And this gets brought to us fresh every week. So it was a great opportunity for me to use it. So I'm going to use this instead, if you're reading the recipe.
So this,
So it's paused for some reason.
oh, we're frozen.
I think it might be back now. Just give it a second.
Yep, we're back.
You're back.
Sorry, we froze for a second. So if you're doing curry paste,
Yes.
this is where you want to add it with the onions and
Yes. With
whatever.
the onions, the carrots, and the garlic, exactly.
Roger.
So if you are using curry paste, you want to toast it off a little bit. You want to wake up all those nice flavors and spices that are found in there. Just turning my soup down a little bit. It's going wild now. So I got my onions, my carrots, and my garlic here.
So Shelly just commented and said she uses green lentils a lot and she keeps them because they hold their shape. But she's interested, and she says, and they don't, the red lentils are used because they don't hold their shape and they give you a different texture. So yeah, that's
exactly.
right.
Yeah. So green lentils are awesome for making salads as well. Like you would never use red lentils to make a salad.
Right.
Because you would have to cook them so perfectly. Like I don't want to stress myself out with that. Like that's a lot. But green lentils, because they're nice and big, will hold their shape much better. And then you've got the Dupree black lentils. Typically, restaurants, we like to use those.
They're so bougie.
That's pretty much the only thing about them is they're bougie. They're small, they're bougie, they've got a fancy French name.
And they're beautiful, actually. They're shiny and they're like a beluga.
They look, yeah, like a beluga
Like a
lentil.
beluga. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm just toasting off my Mirepoix. Actually, I am missing celery. If this was an actual Mirepoix, so Mirepoix is a term used for kind of bases in your soups and your stocks and all that. And a Mirepoix traditionally consists of your onions, carrots, and celery. So I am missing celery, but I've got garlic in place, which is fine. I don't smell like garlic yet, but I'm about to.
Well, you're the only one here then.
It's because I wear so many layers during the day so that I don't pick up the smells, you know? So I'm toasting this off really until I can smell those onions and garlic up in my nose. And as soon as you can start to smell that, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to toss my red lentils in here. Give them a quick stir.
And that's about a cup of lentils.
That's a cup of lentils, yeah.
And this soup is going to serve 2 people, or?
This soup will probably serve, I would say 4 as an appetizer portion. If you're having it for dinner and it's just you and your partner, yeah, 2 generous portions, but it's soup.
It's soup.
You know, it's soup.
People can eat a lot of soup.
Yeah. I actually, when you suggested soup, I don't really eat a lot of soup. And my family, anytime they're like, oh, we're having soup for dinner, I'm like, soup is not a meal.
Oh
to
my
me.
God, you're David. David says the exact same thing.
Because like soup is like, okay, I'm getting ready. Like, what am I actually eating now? Like the soup is just like the starter.
And then David complains about it, and then he sits down to dinner and he's like, oh, this is so good. I always forget how much I like soup.
It's because then an hour later you get the hungry, you know, you're hangry again. But because there's lentils in this, it does tie you over a little bit more. There is a little bit of protein in there for you. Just stirring my parsnip apple here. So my lentils have gone in, given them a quick stir. Same thing as with the parsnips and apples. Really, once all of the lentils kind of hit the bottom of the pan and you give them a nice stir so that they've picked up all that really nice oil, that nice fragrant oil that we're now building there, you can go ahead and add in your liquids.
Chef, Doug wants to know if you needed to rinse or soak your lentils.
I did not soak my lentils. Definitely you don't want to soak your split red lentils because they cook so quickly. But if you are using green or black lentils, soaking them decreases the cooking time. So you definitely could soak them to cook them faster, but I did not soak my red lentils. And I also didn't rinse them.
Do you normally?
I normally don't.
I don't either normally, but
When it comes to starches, I normally rinse rice. That's about it. But I don't normally rinse lentils. But I'm also lazy. So.
But I mean, it's probably not a bad idea to rinse.
No, it's never a bad idea. It's never a bad idea to rinse anything off. So I just added in that curry base in place of using the curry paste and the coconut milk.
So, Chef, we've just frozen up a couple of times here, but I think we're back in business. But there's been a little, it's not you, it's me, it's my fault.
We're still making soup.
We're still making soup.
We're still making soup. I'm still losing my voice. So I've added in my coconut. I'm going to throw my water in here.
That's the coconut curry you added.
That's the coconut curry. Thank you. Yes. So I added in the coconut curry base and some water. The recipe itself does call for coconut milk and water to kind of cut through that richness. Otherwise, it is very luxurious. So a little bit of water in there. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did with my parsnip apple. I'm going to increase the heat to bring it up to a nice happy simmer. Except I'm going to increase the heat to the right burner.
So, Chef, sorry, Leslie is asking about the name of the curry. So that's from Banchok D.
That's from Banchok D.
And you use the red curry. Could you
use the
use
red.
others?
Absolutely. I use the red curry, the medium heat, because it's the one that I know isn't terribly spicy, and I'm a big baby. But you could use, pardon? Penang. Was it the Penang that I grabbed? Yeah, the Penang red curry. Yeah, but you absolutely, if you like green curry, use green curry. If you like yellow curry, you can use a good yellow curry. I like white curries because I can't tolerate spice, and I'm a big baby, so I would use a white curry base. Okay, and really all we're looking for this lentil soup, we want this to come up to a simmer and then just let those lentils cook down. And you'll notice as they start to cook, your soup is going to get thicker and thicker, and that's just from the starch from the lentils breaking down, getting it nice and creamy. So I'll keep an eye on that. Absolutely. I use the red. And while I'm multitasking here, I am now going to jump into soup number 3. I'm going to jump into our quick beef and barley. Now we're calling this quick beef and barley because I've got my barley already cooked off. My beef is already cooked, which your beef should be cooked when you make the soup. And we're going to be using our Major beef base that we sell here. Major's? Yep. Major's beef base that we sell here in-house. It is a great paste. We sell beef, lobster, chicken, vegetable, fish here, and it's a great alternative. There are the bouillon cubes, and bouillon cubes, no shame to bouillon cubes if you're in a hurry, but they can be quite salty as they're reduced down. And this guy stays in your fridge for
like a year.
Yeah.
And it's low sodium. So the Major stuff is meant for restaurant use. So it's meant to handle a reduction. So it's not going to be as salty if you cook your soup for an extra amount of time or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the one thing with using your beef bases or your bouillon cubes is if you do reduce it, all of a sudden, when you first dissolve it, you might be like, okay, great, it's perfect. But if you have to cook your recipe down, then all of a sudden it's too salty, and then you're reaching for a handful of lentils, I guess, to try to
Yeah,
try to even
sometimes
it
I
out.
find they taste like the, you know, the little packet that comes with ramen noodles.
I do.
Sometimes they
do.
taste like that to me, and it's just like the bouillon cubes are just so like artificial tasting
They are.
sometimes.
As a kid, I didn't even know. It wasn't until I turned like 14 that I realized you're supposed to cook the ramen noodles. I used to just eat them raw as a kid.
With
in
the
school,
stuff sprinkled
With the
on?
stuff, and you would like break it up and shake it, and then I would like trade off with another kid, be like, here, please take my yogurt and give me your ramen noodles.
Yeah, my
I didn't
brother
realize
did
you were
that.
supposed to cook that. Is that an East Coast thing, or does that happen out here?
So Chef Doug wants to know about adding chicken or shrimp to the curry soup. When would you, if you were going to add some protein, when would you do that?
I would say it depends on the protein. So chicken, I would add at the beginning when you're sauteing everything down.
If it's raw.
If it's raw. I would add raw chicken at the beginning and let it kind of cook in the soup. If you were gonna add in a cooked protein, I would add it in after the lentils have broken down. So shrimp are really easy to overcook and get rubbery. So shrimp I would actually add in at the very end. Chicken, I would add in, cooked chicken, I would add in after, again, the lentils have broken down. Give it a little bit of time.
But again, you can easily do that. You can break up a piece of fish into the soup at
Yep.
the very end.
Totally.
And like, again, if you're just cleaning out the fridge, it's a great way to use some random leftovers.
Yeah, turkey would be great. Any poultry, any mild flavored protein that would try to take over. So for my beef and barley here, I've got, back to my basics.
Pause again. Back.
We're back? Okay. I've got my onions, my carrots, my celery, and my minced garlic here. I've also got some red wine and a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. The beef base, Major's beef base, my cooked off barley, and I've got some dried thyme and dried parsley. Now, if you have fresh herbs, of course you want to add those in at the very end, but dried herbs, and I get like irked when people have this thing, or when chefs have this thing about dried herbs, because their purpose is great for the beginning of something like this, like a soup. I'm not going to add in parsley at the beginning of my soup and then cook the living daylights out of it. It's not really going to do anything, but dried parsley and dried thyme, as you kind of cook it down, will pick up some of that flavor and release its own. So I like using dried herbs when it comes to my soups. And then you garnish with your fresh herbs. So I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil here to pot number 3. Am I yelling? Does it sound like I'm yelling at anybody?
No, you're
Okay,
good.
Just making sure. I've been told I can be a little loud.
You?
Me?
Come on.
No, I'm not French Canadian.
No.
Not at all. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add in my Mirepoix, which we've learned is
Onions, carrots, celery.
onions, carrots, and celery. They're all going in right now. I'm a big fan of facts. Did Dennis never hit you with facts? Did Dennis just want you to focus on his beautiful face?
He did. Dennis was very much about Dennis. Look at me, how handsome I am. Yeah,
That long flowing hair.
yeah.
No, I'm not quite there yet. Not quite there yet. I miss you. So, I've got my Mirepoix in here. We're cooking it down.
Dennis loved the stove. It was his girlfriend.
Was it?
Yeah.
Well, at least he had one.
Oh, snap.
And pretty much as soon as I can smell that Mirepoix breaking down, actually I'm going to go ahead and add my garlic in as well. Once I can smell my Mirepoix breaking down, I'm going to add everything else in. Now with the beef base, it does recommend that you actually add the base to your boiling water, break it down, and then add it into your pot. But if you haven't gathered already from the fact that I didn't rinse my lentils, I'm a little lazy. And I actually like to take the base and I cook it into the bottom of my pot, and then when I add the water in, I just whisk it really well. It will break down. You don't have to kind of freak out if you forgot to boil water to break down the paste. You're gonna be okay. You can just throw it into the pot, add your water, whisk it real nice, and you're gonna be fine, I promise.
So the ratio for the paste is 1 tablespoon of paste to 1
1 teaspoon of paste.
sorry, 1 teaspoon of paste to 1
cup of water.
cup of water.
Yeah, exactly. 1 teaspoon. Now,
Put the beef in this soup.
so the beef that I'm using is actually beef scraps from our very delicious braised beef that we do in-house here. But you can use any form of leftover cooked beef. So this is short rib that I'm using, but you can use ground beef, you can use any leftover cooked through steak that you've got, anything on hand. We're just gonna be very fortunate tonight that we're getting a little bit of braised beef trimmings, which also
It's the weather. I don't know.
it's the weather. Maybe I'm just too much for the internet.
Yeah, Tessa broke the
I
internet.
broke the internet. I'm not Kim Kardashian, but I broke the well-seasoned internet. All right, I can start to smell my mirepoix. I'm gonna add in my dried herbs here, so my thyme and my parsley. Give that a quick stir. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my beef base now. And I like to say, if you're gonna cheat and use a base and not make your own stock, which if you do make your own stock, I applaud you because it's a lot of work. But if you're gonna cheat, beef base or beef stock is the one to cheat on. Beef stock, to make a good one, does take like 36 hours. So this is the one where I don't have beef stock at my house. I have beef base. I have chicken stock at home, but not beef. So if you're gonna cheat, cheat well. Use your beef base.
And use beef base with beef barley. You can't make beef barley with chicken stock.
You cannot make beef barley with chicken stock. If you were gonna braise your bones and you're gonna kind of make your own beef stock, then yeah, use that. But no, you wanna make sure you use beef base for your beef and barley.
You can make a really great vegetarian barley soup, but this is beef barley.
This is beef barley. Yeah, you can maybe put some lentils in your vegetarian barley soup.
To just like thicken it, because the barley isn't enough.
I take that back. Ooh, that smells beefy right off the top. I'm gonna go ahead and cut that beefy smell with some red wine and some Worcestershire sauce here. That's gonna go in because we all know that beef and red wine go very, very, very well together.
But if you don't have wine in the house, Chef, what would you use?
You don't necessarily need to have the wine in there. It's more just to balance out a little bit of acidity. So if you don't have any wine to add in, I would add a little bit of sherry vinegar at the very end.
Or
just to
balsamic
season it.
even.
Or balsamic, yeah. Any form of vinegar to kind of balance out all those flavors. Giving that a good stir. Red wine and some Worcestershire sauce.
Tessa in
That's
stereo.
my voice. Okay. Now I'm gonna add the rest of these ingredients here. So I've got my 4 cups of water. That was 4 teaspoons of beef base. I've got 12 ounces of diced tomatoes, and then my cooked barley here. So I did pre-cook my barley, but you could definitely cook your barley in the soup if you wanted to, and then it would really soak up all that beef flavor. But because we are making a quick beef and barley, that is why I cooked mine off ahead of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my water in now. Add.
Doug says, you don't have wine in the house. Good grief, how could that happen? Doug, I didn't say at our house. Some people actually don't have
Wine at their
wine
disposal.
in the house.
It's true, it's true.
I know it's shocking to you, Doug, but...
Or you could have someone like me around, and we had an incident a few weeks ago where the liquor shelf collapsed just by me opening the cupboard. So maybe
God.
I'm at your house and all of a sudden the liquor's all gone. Which, well,
Chef Tessa wiped out our long accumulated booze collection.
I did.
That Chef Dennis and I, like, you know, accumulated over the last 2 years.
and it wasn't even over something exciting. It just attacked me. It was not, if I'm gonna demo that much liquor at once, I at least wanna have more proof of it happening versus us all scrambling and being like, what's that weird smell in the kitchen? Oh, just Chef Tessa breaking things, throwing things, you know. Okay, so now that we've got all of our soups on the go, we are essentially gonna work backwards. So my quick beef and barley, once everything goes in, you really just need to bring that to a simmer. You just wanna let that kind of cook together for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then you're ready to go. That can just be eaten right away. Of course, the longer it sits together, the better it's going to be. But it is easy to eat.
Sorry, how long
Yeah.
did it take you to cook the barley? Because barley is one of those ones that requires a little bit of extra cooking time.
Barley, I was simmering it for a good 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had it completely covered. I think I had a good 2 fingers of water over top of the barley, and I just let it simmer until I looked over at it 40 minutes later and was like, I think that's done, and then strained it off. You can see the gluten or the starch start to leak out. Gets nice and swelled.
Barley's gluten-free, yeah? Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe so.
I believe it is too. While you search, I'll drink.
So let's talk about garnish.
Let's talk about garnish.
Barley is not gluten-free, Chef. There is gluten in barley. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so talk about garnish for these soups.
Garnish for
because
these
you know,
soups.
a lot of people make soup, and it tastes a bit like, I'm gonna say it like my mom, God love her. Today was actually her birthday. It tastes like dishwater. And it's because she doesn't she doesn't build the layers in a soup. Mm-hmm. And the final layer in my world for soup is the garnish. And I think it's as important as a good mirepoix, but maybe you are going to dispel that myth for me today.
No, I'm not going to dispel that myth because I also agree. Garnish is really important in soups to round out all of your flavors. So for the parsnip apple soup, for the pureed soup, I am going to garnish it with a little bit of herb oil, which I'm going to show you guys how to make. Just a nice bright green oil that goes on top. If we had more time, or if I was able to, I'd also probably put something fried on top, like a good
candied bacon.
Or candied bacon. I did, when I made this for the meal, we served it with some candied bacon and some hot honey, which brings everything together. When you think of garnish, for me, garnish is something that you add on to round out the flavors that you don't have. You always want to have texture, so you don't want it to just all be soft in your mouth. You want a little bit of crispy or a little bit of crunchy. You want it to be sweet and acidic and savory, so that's where garnish kind of comes in. So crunchy garnish, savory garnish always go a long way with me. So we did candied bacon, would be great. Brown sugar, mix some brown sugar with some black pepper, sprinkle it over your bacon, into the oven. Don't forget it.
Really? Okay, I knew we were going to go there.
And candy it, take it out. That goes as a great garnish on top. It wouldn't be vegetarian at that point, but it doesn't really matter.
I love that Chef Tessa uses her first live cooking class to out me for burning an entire tray of bacon.
You posted it on Instagram.
But I actually burnt 2 trays of bacon yesterday.
2 trays. I wouldn't have said it if you didn't post it to Instagram, but that to me meant it was fair game.
That's harsh.
It meant
That's
it's fair
harsh.
game. I mean, I'm gone for an hour.
I know.
And then I get a text. I'm not even home yet.
I had
and I
one
get a
job.
text message.
One job.
Bacon's burnt, and I'm like, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it's burnt. So while my soups just kind of finish up here, I am going to show you guys this herb oil. I'm just going to grab my blender. And herb oils are crazy easy to make. They're so easy to make. They keep forever in your fridge, and it's a nice garnish on top of any soup, on top of any plate. It's one of those things that takes like 30 seconds to make, but when you present it to other people, when you have guests over and you're like, oh, I just garnished this little bit of herb oil, they're like, wow, look at you, you went the extra mile. And you're like, not really, I pureed stuff. But you don't tell them that part. You keep that to yourself.
Like burnt bacon?
Like
never
burnt
mind.
bacon?
No, that's apparently not a thing you keep to yourself.
You put it on the internet. You put it on the internet. So the great thing about herb oils is, again, any greenery that may be on its way out, you can use for this. So I'm going to be using, I've got a couple of green onions that I'm just going to use to add a bit of pepperiness to it. I've got some curly parsley, and I've got some cilantro that's seen better days. So that's going to go in. And there are a few different ways of doing this. If I was working at a high-end French restaurant right now, before adding my herbs into the blender, I would be blanching them. So I would be putting them in hot water for like 3 seconds and then shocking them. So putting it in ice water. And I would do that just to make them extra bright green. That's the only reason for that step. It does kind of mute the flavor a little bit, or it takes away a bit of bitterness, but you don't need to do it that way, I promise. So I'm going to take my herbs here, and
So this is a good use for some herbs like your cilantro that's maybe not prime, but
Yep.
you definitely don't want to use the herbs when they're like slightly, you know, slimy. You know,
No,
they
you
still
don't-
have to be these firm herbs.
you would still want to eat them.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it and you're just like, yeah, I'd eat that, it can go in there. But if you look at it and you're like, don't put it in your herb oil, okay? Yeah. Put it in your soup and then puree it. That's what I would do with that. So my parsley here, I didn't use all of the stem, reason being I don't want to anger the Vitamix. A Vitamix is great, it can puree almost anything, but if you have too much stem in there, you could break it, and I've broken enough stuff.
Yeah, like ease up on the Vitamix, Chef.
I don't think I need to, I use it all day today.
Yeah, well,
all
let's
day.
not break that. I'm kind of like, you know, fed up with buying equipment this week, so.
I won't
Not
break it.
for you, just in general.
Just in general?
Yeah.
So I've got
How about you give me a couple days off?
Did I tell you about the fridge yet?
Oh, God.
Got a little bit of cilantro in there that was on its way out. I'm going to add just a little bit of green onion here. And then essentially all of these soups are going to be ready at the same time.
I hear bubbling. So the only one that's really risky here is the lentil soup, because the lentils will catch at the bottom of the pot.
They will.
And they actually turn into lava. So they'll start like jumping out of the pot. So you
They'll
want
pop
to
at
keep
you.
an eye on that, yeah.
Yeah, they'll pop at you.
The rest are a little less risky.
See, and the reason Angie is saying that is because she's been doing dishes after me. And she's noticed the amount of pots that I may or may not have not been watching.
Let's just say I've been able to like expense a manicure or two since you started.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's true. It comes with the territory of having me around. I've got, this is 2/3 olive oil to 1 part grapeseed oil. The reason that I cut it with grapeseed oil is purely because I find olive oil, if you only use it, can be quite overpowering, can be quite bitter, and you do want to actually get the taste of the herbs. So I will add a little bit of grapeseed oil. I do the same thing when I make vinaigrettes. I don't know if anyone noticed. I do like to use a little bit of grapeseed oil when I make vinaigrettes. Otherwise, it just takes everything over. So I'm going to turn this on really quick. You're going to puree the living daylights out of it. My favorite thing to do. I'm going to add a quick pinch of salt and puree it again really quickly for another 10 seconds. And then quick and easy. This comes out. You can keep it with the herb pulp in it, but I will strain it. So I'm actually just popping it into a little strainer here. I'm going to let that hang and sit in my bowl. And by the time I get to pureeing my soup, my oil will be done dripping and we will be plating. So I guess I should plate some of this stuff, eh? I think we're ready.
Even Michelle hung around. This is exciting. Michelle's like
I
looking
know.
for dinner apparently.
Does that mean you want to do my dishes, or I'm kidding?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's why Michelle stayed.
All right. I do need to reuse the blender. That was the only reason I was actually doing my dishes for once. So let's go to the beef and barley here. I let this really kind of rage. I'm going to give this a quick taste. Before I add any salt to that, I am going to taste it first. That beef base does have salt in it. So you don't want to add too much right off the bat.
Chef Doug just said, I noticed Tessa isn't as salt orientated as Dennis. You are correct, Doug.
You are correct.
Our salt consumption in the kitchen has gone down considerably. But we are still very focused on being well seasoned here. So
Absolutely. I do use less salt than Dennis. I do use salt, but I use it more towards the end, especially when I'm making soups because I'm always terrified of over-salting things. My mother has high blood pressure, and when she watches me cook, it gets even higher because she sees the amount of salt that goes into food. So I have kind of used a little bit less over time here. But I gave that a little taste, and it needed a little bit more, so I added 2 pinches. And that makes me happy. Soup just gives you that like warm, happy feeling. It's still not a meal, but it gives you that warm, happy feeling.
it's a meal if you add bread. And what if you add a grilled
true.
cheese? Then
Oh, see, that's a different ball game.
all right.
Grilled cheese is different because then you have like starch. So my beef and barley here is good to go. And I don't really have any garnish for that because it's beef and barley.
I mean, I would maybe just add a bit of fresh parsley or some fresh herb just to sort of brighten it up at the end. But yeah, I mean, it's not a soup. It's more of a like stick to your ribs kind of soup. It doesn't really, it's not
You
a
could add some
fancy
sour
soup.
cream on top if you really wanted to.
Oh.
If you're feeling like it. But
Speaking of high blood pressure.
so that's a soup that comes together pretty quickly. The good thing about a beef and barley soup too, as I pour it all over the stovetop.
Okay, we are good.
We're good.
It just keeps saying slow internet, start at a lower rate.
Oh God, that's hot. Yep,
Yeah, it's hot.
that's hot.
I didn't dragon breath, but it's hot.
Yep.
So the beef and barley is hot. I mildly burnt my tongue, but it's fine. I'm looking over at my red lentil soup, and it has really cooked down. Now it's this nice, I don't want to pick it. I go for acid. Jenna, the camera is pointed at the ceiling. There we go. Anytime I'm using something creamy or have a nice rich ingredient, I go for acid. So in this case, we've got our coconut milk as our base. We've got those lentils. I'm going to add a little bit of lime juice just to balance everything out here. A little bit of acid goes a long, long way.
Jenna Tessa's head is cut off.
I know.
Oh, she's back.
It's just a little bit of a lag. Sorry.
What a time to be alive, guys. We're good, we're good. So little pinch or little half a lime in there.
Good thing this glass is green.
We're gonna add another half a lime. Give that a stir here.
You don't use the zest, Chef.
I did not use the zest, only because I didn't have a zester in front of my face. That's pretty
But
much-
would you normally?
If not really. Not when I'm balancing out acidity. If I wanted it to taste really limey or lemony, then I would definitely use the zest. If I'm just looking to kind of balance out the flavor profile, then I just kind of opt for using the juice. But that's a personal kind of preference. I'm sure Dennis can come for me for that one too. He can add it to the list.
I like both, but I like the brightness. But I mean, it depends how acidic people like it.
Yeah. Woo, that's nice and balanced now. So my lime juice balances out. It cuts through that richness, really. I've got a little bit of cilantro here. So that cilantro that I used in my herb oil, I did take a couple stalks and I soaked it in ice water. The ice water kind of brings everything back together. Or it makes your herbs nice and lively again. And all of these soups freeze exceptionally well. So you can make a nice big batch and then freeze it, pull it from your freezer the day before you want to eat it, and then just pop it back into the pot, and it will come together.
So we talked the other day. I asked you if you'd ever sprouted lentils.
Yeah.
I would, if I had sprouted lentils, I would put a big pile of those on top of this soup.
Yeah, because I looked at you and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, we have lentils in the house now. Let's sprout some.
Let's sprout some lentils. There you go.
Little red sprout.
A little red sprout on top. And that's soup number 2. And then all we need to do here is puree my favorite soup.
So I don't know, Jenna, did you get close of the texture of this soup? It's kind of like, it's creamy, but it's not, I don't know if you can really see that very well, how much the lentils have broken down and how quickly. I mean, the lentils are still there. You can see them, but you can't discern a single lentil. Like they've really started to break down. If you were gonna freeze this soup, Chef,
Yes.
yeah, I just worry about food expanding when it's frozen.
Yes.
So I think somebody mentioned that earlier in the comments about not adding pasta to sauce, not adding rice to sauce, because it completely breaks down when you freeze it. That doesn't happen with lentils?
Not with your red lentils, because they do fully break down. When you thaw it, it's not really going to make too much of a difference. But when I do freeze anything, I always leave a good gap in a container, so that when it does, because it will expand naturally, so it doesn't kind of erupt out of the container. Does that make sense? Was that the question?
No, it was about, when you can't make chicken noodle soup, add the noodles, and then freeze it. The noodles expand.
Continue, you can't stop science.
Right, they keep taking on the liquid, and then the noodles eventually disintegrate into the pot. That doesn't happen with lentils.
No, because we've already done it.
Right.
We just did it. So that won't happen because we already have kind of broken it down.
Right. Okay. Sorry.
No. I had a chef, actually when I was in culinary school, you can't stop science, he used to always tell me, and it was for rice and chicken soup. We got into this big argument with another student, and the moral of the story is you cannot stop science from doing its thing.
Well, we've all learned in the last year there are some science deniers out there. So
well, let's not.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that tonight, do we?
So Ginny says this is like split pea soup. Yeah, same sort of idea.
Yep, absolutely. Minus the ham. So last soup here. I would typically just try to pour this whole thing in here. If you've seen me here throughout the day, I am quite messy, but I'm trying to be nice. And then next week, what are we doing next week while I sit here and puree this soup?
Pumpkin.
It's pumpkin. Pumpkin without a pumpkin spice latte, I promise.
There are no pumpkin spice lattes were harmed in the making of this cooking class.
Nothing. No pumpkin spice. All right, back to my favorite place, the blender. Give this a nice puree. I'm going to add a small pinch of salt here. Keep pureeing it. Okay.
Chef, Ginny wants to know if you could use an immersion blender for this.
Yep, absolutely you could. And so this is a very creamy soup. It is a velvety soup. If you want it to be a little bit more brothy, then you can just add a bit more liquid as you're pureeing it. You can add, I would heat up some water or vegetable stock or cream, whatever you want to use. Heat it up and then pour it in, and you will be able to kind of loosen it up to the consistency that you want. Okay. I'm going to give this guy a taste. And I'm going to balance the seasoning out with a little bit of lemon juice for this guy. Bit more salt. Little bit of lemon juice. Again, we've got some cream in here. So I want to be able to not just kind of have creaminess on my palate. I want to really taste everything, so that's where that acid comes in. Much better. Another little pinch of salt. How's the soup, ladies? How's it going?
Okay, the red lentil soup is phenomenal, but really, I'm going to give full credit to Ban Choc D on that.
You should.
Because their sauce is so phenomenal.
It's incredible.
It's a really great base for this soup. And I was a little concerned, to be honest, when you added so much water to it, but the lentils needed it, and the soup still has so much flavor. It's really good with that sauce. I make a lot of red curry soups at home, but I've never used their sauce. I use their sauce for other things, obviously, but not for soup.
Well, now it's another thing you can use it for. Okay.
That would mean I'd have to quit making red curry prawns or red curry chicken, or don't make me choose.
I would never make you choose. So I've got my, oh man, such a creamy soup. If I am gonna eat a soup, again, really this boils down to, boils down soup, get it? Anyway, it goes back to my mother and overcooking vegetables. If I'm gonna have a soup, I really like it to be pureed. I don't like really soft textures. So that's kind of where I like this guy here. Now my oil, it's still dripping away. I would actually let this drip overnight, but I still have a good amount that's actually already done. And really nice bowl of white soup. Take your oil, pop it around. If you have something crispy, something nice and crispy can go right on top, but it's also going to add, for this soup in particular, this herb oil is going to add a nice kind of herbaceous flavor that it needs. And it looks nice.
It does look beautiful. So the oil, chef, will eventually, if you leave the herb particles in it, the herb pulp, it'll go black.
If you leave all of the herb that I haven't strained, yes, it will.
It'll go black.
It will.
That is so beautiful. Can you guys, I don't know if you can see that, how beautiful that is and how thick and creamy it is. It's like, it's almost like mashed potatoes. And I know
Mashed
how much you love a
potatoes.
mashed
I
potato.
love making mashed potatoes. I would say it's like a leek and potato
Oh my
soup.
God, that's
right?
so delicious.
Like a pureed leek and potato soup.
The apple is so sweet, and yeah, that's really good. So Chef Tessa was a little nervous tonight because this was her first
This is
class.
my first one.
But lots of people have said how much you killed it, how much they loved it. We had lots of people joining us tonight. I'm so happy to see. Ooh, sorry. Something up my nose. Ooh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Sorry. I'm so happy to see so many of our regulars tonight. Even Gladys was here. Gladys comes to these classes from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh my God.
I know. So,
Hi, Gladys.
So Gladys chimes in occasionally, and we're happy to see you. And Sarah was here from Saskatchewan. Sarah is a home economist and a professional recipe writer in Saskatchewan. So I'm sure Sarah could talk to us all about lentils and all of it. Yeah. So anyhow, Doug, all of our usuals. I'm really happy to see you back. I'm really curious to know from you guys about the timing of this class. We moved it to 6 o'clock from 5:30 because I think some people now are not working remote or are no longer working remotely. They're back at the office. So if, holy, sorry, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. So if, I'm curious to hear from you about how the timing of this class works for you. If 6 o'clock is good, 5:30 is better. Not you, Gladys. This is 8:30 your time. Sorry, you have no say in this right now. But even Sarah, it's like your bedtime. So I'm curious to know how the timing works for you. We can easily back the class up to 5:30. We can stay at 6 o'clock. So I'd really appreciate your feedback if you can share it with us with the timing. But you killed it. Great job. You did. You did. Everything was delicious. That lentil soup, I'm going to have another bowl. It was so excellent. So you can find Chef Tessa here at Well Seasoned. If you're in the store shopping, stick your head in the kitchen and say hello. She loves to say hi when she's not dropping things.
Or burning things.
And if you're in the kitchen, I'm the one in the dish pit, so you can just say hello to me too. So thank you for joining us. Jenna, thanks for managing the camera tonight, even when it was upside down. And Michelle, thanks for sticking around and having a glass of bubbly with us.
Yeah.
Oh, your glass is empty.
Yeah.
That's tragic.
I
Sorry.
know.
Yeah,
It's like, I just
I may have
finished it.
drank it all, but whatever.
I was watching you over there, and I was
Yep.
like, okay.
Don't worry about
All
it.
right,
Don't worry
yeah.
about it. All right, so next week we're doing Pumpkin Palooza. So it's just a few days from Halloween next week, and we are talking about all things pumpkin.
All things pumpkin.
Pumpkin gnocchi. All
Yeah,
right.
man.
I'm just gonna use those two words, pumpkin gnocchi. That should be enough to get you back here next Thursday.
Yes.
We're sticking with the 6 o'clock for at least one more week, and we may change the time then. So in the meantime, if you're curious about these recipes, you can find them here on Facebook or a link to our website, wellseasoned.ca. The recipes live there permanently. And if you have questions that Tessa may or may not answer, you can send your questions to askachef@wellseasoned.ca.
I'll actually answer them.
Right. Not
I'll
like Dennis.
actually answer them. If you send an email to Ask a Chef, I promise I will actually take the time out of my day and answer them.
Oh, thank God.
I will take that away from you.
I can turn that email over to
Yeah,
Tessa
I will
now.
take
So,
that.
All right, so thank you for joining us tonight. Everybody stay dry and stay well hydrated. We'll see you next Thursday.
See you next Thursday.
Good job, Chef.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.